freaked me out. I saw like it looks like something's dangling from where I'm sitting.
Oh yeah, actually I see what you're saying.
With the way the light hits it, like dangling from the cap.
It's drugs. I've drugged you.
You drugged me? I knew it. It is a rape dungeon.
It is a rape dungeon.
Thought I felt something.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back.
And cut. All right.
And cut.
Yeah.
We got a guest. It's Casey, who's our music librarian, metal librarian, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Full disclosure, I'm not an actual librarian.
No.
I'm just a guy who knows a little about a lot.
A lot about what we care about.
Yes.
Yeah. We're going to listen to Hail the Villain, Population Declining. And that came out, I just said it, and I was not prepared until Casey said something.
Yeah, and you're still not prepared. Look at this.
Still.
June 6th? 8th?
June 6th? I can't fucking...
It's in the middle there.
Yeah. 2010. And what was it? They used to have a different name. So this, when did they say this came out originally?
I don't know when it was originally released, but the band was originally formed under Fahrenheit in Canada.
They're Canadian.
Yeah, that era for music was weird. There's a lot of guys that came out of Canada. These guys, I know Priestess was another band.
Oh, I forgot about Priestess. Yeah,
that came out of Canada out of nowhere and kind of sprinkled their magic everywhere.
Yeah, I forgot about Priestess.
The Canadian fairy dust, if you will.
Yeah,
but Traces of Blood.
Yeah, there's a lot of Canadian metal and hard rock that came out around that time, which is kind of strange. But anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, and then. So 2010 they re-released this under Hail the Villain with Roadrunner Records, and I didn't know they were on Roadrunner either. Dude, all the good shit's on Roadrunner.
I mean, that's insane because I heard a little bit of these guys beforehand, and seeing they're on Roadrunner, I'm like, that doesn't sound a whole lot to me anyway, like a lot of the Roadrunner bands, but I don't know, it's pretty cool to see that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that era of Roadrunner, they did a lot of exploration or expansion with their music, their catalog, and these guys kind of fell under their umbrella.
Okay.
And for the better, I was telling Jake earlier before when you were out smoking that this is one of those albums that there's nothing groundbreaking on it as far as music or guitar work or producing or anything like that. It's just one of those albums that it hit. For me personally, it hit me at the right time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they talk a lot about anger and depression on this album, and it came along in my life at the right time. And I know you guys kind of touched on it before about the people that get it and the people that don't get it.
Right.
Yeah. And every now and then you get one of those albums where it just kind of like grabs your soul and it's like, this is for you, even though it's not for you. Like it touches you in that very personal way.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of how this album was with me. Mm-hmm. So that's why...
Yeah,
let's do this one.
Yeah, and this album rules. Tim still hasn't heard it yet. I played
like I said,
a minute of the first song just so you can kind of get a taste. But
yeah, I try to keep these a little more reactionary on my end, just because unless I pick the album, because I'm like, I like to kind of react to them, like hear it the first time, while our viewers are watching it too. So that way we're experiencing it at the same time. Yeah,
and I've listened to it a few times, but like you showed it to me, and then I just listened to it a couple times on my own, and I listened to it the other day on the way to work, and. Like I should probably familiarize myself a little bit with it. But cool. Let's start it. Yeah, that riff is so badass. It comes in just so good.
Yeah, they're your typical post-grunge, post-metal kind of era of hard rock.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know this song, I think My Reward and Runaway, the first three tracks, all got a lot of radio play, especially Runaway. And these guys were at Ozfest, and I saw them live once.
Oh, wow.
They had a pretty good stage. They weren't on the main stage, but they had a pretty good show.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this was their only album, because I don't remember his name, but the vocalist, I know he ruptured his vocal cords.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because if you listen to the screams on this album, it's just an unsustainable style. You can't.
Right.
And like the way you hear it on the album, that's how he would perform it live, and it was just so raw that even then I was like, there's no way he's going to maintain that.
Right. You can hear it in his voice, like you can hear him straining.
Yeah, he's straining.
Not really straining, but it definitely sounds damaging. Yeah, and then when I was listening to it, I was like, well, it kind of reminds me of Spine Shank.
Yeah, a little bit.
Because it has that new metal kind of flavor to it, but it sounds a little bit more modern. And then it reminded me a lot of, I don't know if you ever listened to them, Fall From Grace. Mm-hmm. They were kind of like, they were around this era. They were a little bit more like, maybe a little bit more on the emo side, but not really. We were listening to them a little bit. And then it reminded me of Egypt Central a little bit, too. I don't know if you ever listened to them.
Nope.
Yeah, they were another one. They were
shaming the librarian here. You better cut it out.
I have a little bit more modern taste in music, I think.
We'll see it, and then when I heard it a little earlier, and then actually now that I'm hearing it now too, even more so. I don't know if you're gonna like this too much, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of Jared Leto from 30 Seconds to Mars a little, like just the same kind of delivery and all that kind of stuff, and just that raw sort of passion to it behind his voice and everything.
Kind of
I think it's kind of got a little bit of that. I'm not saying he sounds like Jared Leto. I'm just saying like it kind of reminds me of it a little.
Yeah.
I see that.
Yeah.
Despite the subject matter on this album, there's a lot of energy behind the performance.
Yeah.
You can tell that they're all young in their career, having fun.
Oh, yeah.
Their experimental stage of their life, and which is personally my favorite part of any band, any group. Is usually it's their early stuff where they're the most experimental and
Yeah.
they're having the most fun.
I'd like to see if I could find the original, like when they were under their old name.
Yeah, I don't know who or what company they released that under, but I'd be interested to hear that too.
Well, it said that they were, I don't know if it was after they changed their name, but it said they were with Warner Brothers Canada.
Oh.
So I'm like, well, that's a pretty big label. That's a huge label. But yeah, so I wonder if they released it under their old name or anything under their old name. It'd be kind of cool.
It's a good question. I have no idea.
Fahrenheit doesn't even have a Wikipedia page, so I'm gonna assume if they put something out, maybe we could find it, but it doesn't say anything about it on here. But they originally formed in 2003 in Ontario, and then they changed their name in 2006, and then in 2009 they made a record deal with Warner Music Canada, and then in 2010 Roadrunner picked them up, and then that's when they came out with this.
Yeah.
That's so cool, man. This reminds me a lot of Egypt Central.
Yeah.
I think you'd like them. They're a little bit more radio friendly-ish, but they're really cool.
That has such a negative connotation when you say it like that. But I know what you mean. Like, it's more acceptable to the masses. The fine tweets they feed everybody.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing. It's just like the shit they constantly play on the radio is the shit that's just like.
Well, you just listen to the wrong stations. Then.
Well, there's nothing around here. That's why I don't listen to the radio.
Yeah. Hear that, Rockford? You suck.
Yeah. I think it's only the third time now we've said where we're from. We're kind of ashamed of where we're from. I'm just kidding. We get those Canada fires here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
From Canada, eh?
Hey, these guys are from Canada. Yeah. Maybe they know what we're talking about.
Hey, thanks for your fire and your cold air.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Like your moderately acceptable radio metal.
I don't remember hearing these guys on the radio. Maybe it was just around that time I wasn't listening at all.
Because I would say, I think in the early 20-teens, that's right around the time I stopped listening to radio. I would just put CDs on or, hook my phone up.
Yeah, because around this time was probably, I was 2010, that was the year after I graduated. So it makes me feel young, actually. But,
around this time, I was living at my grandma's place, and I was caretaking for her. And I didn't have cable TV for the longest time because I'm cheap and I didn't care.
Right.
I got internet, I'm good. But around this time, I don't know if you remember on what was Comcast, now Xfinity, they had those music channels towards the end.
Yeah.
And they had the metal channel. And this is probably one of those bands that popped up on there. That's where I heard a lot of stuff around that time.
Probably. And now that I think about it, because we had On Demand and all that stuff was on there, that's where I found a lot of music. I found Children of Bodom on there. That's the first time, I think I said it before, that's where I found In Waves. I heard that the first time on there. And I think I do remember seeing that on there now that I'm thinking about this band.
Yeah. I'm sure that's where I heard that the first time.
That's where I found 3 Inches of Blood. Or no, that was on a Tony Hawk game.
Yeah, that was on a Tony Hawk game, yeah.
But yeah, there's a whole bunch of cool shit on there. Yeah, but this was around the time where I was kind of more into I don't know, Sevenfold. and like Bullet and that kind of stuff. Yeah. Well, you can call Sevenfold metalcore anymore.
That was another thing I kind of want to touch on that you guys talked about, like the generation versus generation when it comes to like their music taste. Like, you never want to be interested in something that your parents like, because that's not cool, right?
Right.
Well, so I mean, it's the same thing with bands. Like, they don't want to keep playing the same shit. They want to change with the times.
So that whole like, oh, my generation's better. Like, it's the whole. You know what I mean?
It's not.
It's generational.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it is. Of course, like
it's uncool to like what your parents like. So that's why. Growing up, like, classic rock, but you know, I listen to it as I get older, like, oh, I could see how this would be popular.
Yeah.
There's some really talented musicians and very creative people.
Right.
We're all in there. It wasn't my cup of tea because, you know, people that were of my parents' age liked it.
Well, yeah,
and it's going to be the same thing if we ever have kids. You know, they're going to be like, oh, Dad's music fucking sucks. Like,
listen to this stuff. It sounds like microchips.
Okay, but you're not going to listen to Justin Bieber in this fucking house.
Yeah, pretty much.
That would be something, though, if, like, kids in the future, they're sitting looking back going, man, progressive metal, fuck that. And I'm just like, I don't know. I think that's
people are saying that now.
Well, I was going to say, I think that's the one genre where they would kind of not do that, because I think progressive metal, like, that's the one I think that's kind of timeless, where you could listen to it at a different time, and it's like, whatever.
I don't hate progressive metal. It's just, that's another thing.
I like progressive metal, but I have to be in the mood for it.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of stuck in its own way, because there's not a whole lot of innovation. It's crazy to say there's not a whole lot of innovation in progressive metal.
Isn't it? Yeah.
It's such an oxymoron, but...
I mean, not really. They're not really metal, but the only progressive, I guess, metal band that I can think of that did something different was Polyphia.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't really call them metal, though. They are, but they're not.
I mean, metal is such a...
It's kind of an umbrella term now.
Term. You could throw your net out there and catch 10 different genres of metal, and all the subgenres, they just get out of control.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this song, though, so far, I mean, it sounded an awful lot. Like, it sounds so familiar to me, because, I swear I've never heard it, but it sounds like it could have been on a Tony Hawk game. Like, like it really does.
Well, when you showed this to me at work the first time, it was kind of hard to hear, because your shit was like in a tunnel. But
my sonic tunnel.
Yeah.
The first thing I thought, and it might have been this song, I was like, it sounds like Linkin Park. Like, I was thinking, he sounds a little bit like Chester.
Yeah, his screams are very similar to what Chester did.
Yeah.
But like, when you can actually hear it, I'm like, oh, this doesn't sound like Linkin Park. Like, this sounds like their own thing.
Yeah, I love how, like, to me, in my opinion, this is, I think I talked about bass voiceovers before. To me, this is bass voiceovers being done right, to like really reinforce that bottom end of the music, to kind of give it that punch and that drive to it. It's really coming through, and like, I really enjoy that.
Yeah, they had a huge sound.
Yeah.
That's typical of most new metal bands. They turn everything up to 11.
Yeah, but theirs was like, it was thick and huge, but it wasn't like all bottom end. Like, it just, I don't know, it had a really good clarity to it, too.
Saying, like,
and for a debut album, that's kind of rare. Like, just that good of a sounding album. That's kind of what sucks, is like, it's not popular enough to have like a lot of information on it. But
they're popular enough to have a Wikipedia page, so there you go.
I'd like to know who produced it. I mean, I don't think that Roadrunner employs producers and stuff like that. They find people, and then, you know, they're just, it's the label that makes the money off it. But I don't think that they're going to put something under their name with just a bunch of shit, you know?
No. Roadrunner was still quality at this point in time. So.
Well, they still are, because they're doing Dream Theater, and who else is on them now?
Oh, a lot of bands. I mean, that's
Trivium, and
still one of the premier labels.
I think, is Killswitch still on Roadrunner? I don't remember. Oh.
That's funny, you know, the Roadrunner United record, right? Which I love, which you should do, by the way, if you haven't.
Surprised you didn't pick that, but
I was this close. Like I said, it was such a hard choice. I was like, no, I'd like to go with something slightly more obscure, but not quite like I don't want to do more thrash, right? Because I'm a thrash guy, guilty.
Yeah,
and you know, there's so much thrash out there. I could be like, it could have been this, it could have been this, it could have been this, it could have been Black Label Society, it could have been so much stuff. But like, no, let's go something a little bit more mellow.
Yeah,
but the amount of time that has passed since the founding of Roadrunner to Roadrunner United album is almost equal to the time between that album and now. They are almost due for another anniversary album.
That was what, 15 years?
I think it was 20
20?
years or 25. I think
Something like
it
that.
was 2004, right? Or 6?
5. Yeah, because it was right after Trivium put on Ascendancy, so it was like
they were 80 or 80
years.
yeah, so about 25 years. So yeah, they're almost due for another
Oh my God.
anniversary album. Can you believe that? Feel old yet? Feel old yet?
Well, I already felt old before.
I feel great, dude. I'm the youngest person in this room.
Yeah.
But apparently I'm
It's just
vintage now.
ornamental.
But I mean, I don't know, man. Like so far, I'm really liking this. Like
Yeah.
some of the techniques they're using, like it's so. Because I mean, when you were telling me before we were listening to it that it was kind of new metal-ish, I was sitting here expecting to hear like something Spine Shank or something
Yeah,
more
heavy synth or
yeah,
industrial something
like more of an
no,
It's
industrial
just
sound.
rock. It's just really
yeah,
good
they're
rock.
more heavy or hard rock.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's got such a good groove to it.
But I mean, this kind of cements the fact that like heavy music doesn't need to have guitar solos,
Right.
You know, because it sounds great without it. And I feel like if they did put some in here, it might even take away from it.
Right.
You know.
There's a few sprinkled out.
Yeah.
So I don't think every song has it. But
Right.
I mean, that's stylistic of the time. Just
Yeah.
once again.
Well, even then, just some music just you can't put a solo in. I mean, like you said, it would just ruin it. Like really. So I mean, some of it's just like more rhythmic styles.
Yeah.
You just want all straight rhythm.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go through the last one. We did a whole video, but it got fucked up. Like the camera kept disconnecting from Wi-Fi, so I couldn't fucking see it on here.
Oh.
And then it just stopped recording like the last like 5 minutes. But we did System's first album,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna have to go through and see if I can salvage anything from it because that we made kind of a lot of good points on
Yeah.
that one, I think. But I was gonna say like that was another one of those albums that kind of cemented that fact because I don't think there was a single guitar, so there wasn't any
Yeah, I
like
don't think so.
incredible guitar work on it. But they had such a unique sound for what 98 when that came out.
Oh yeah.
I remember being in my friend's basement listening to that album over and over and over
Yeah.
and over. And it's just one of those things like, that was another album that just kind of pulled you in.
Yeah.
And listening to it now, as you get older, your taste changes. That I was like, oh man, what the hell is wrong with me? That was just, it's so.
Yeah.
Some of it's so harsh to listen to because Surge is, say what you will about him,
Yeah.
his vocals are. I don't know. I can't get behind his vocals
Yeah.
anymore. And
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But-
I've kind of gotten that way over the years too.
but their
Unique.
sound was very unique.
They
for
had their
sure.
own sound, yeah.
That's really what
And
broke them to the forefront of the whole
yeah.
situation, new metal situation at the time. And
Yeah, and I've said it before, and I'll keep saying it. They're nobody can sound like them. Like, if anybody ever thought of doing a System of a Down cover band, you pretty much have to get Surge to sing for you, because
he's a unique talent,
yeah,
plain and simple.
and capturing their energy, their exact sound, like it's impossible.
Right.
You know.
And he had some solo stuff that was pretty good too. But
I liked his
it
first
sounded
album.
like SOAD. So
Yeah. Well, we talked about that too. His stuff sounded like early System,
Yeah.
and then like
Yeah.
Darren's project sounded like later System.
Yeah.
So it's like you can clearly see, who wrote what.
where their clashing came. Like,
Yeah.
that's it. I want to do this. You want to do this?
Yeah. And what kind of, I don't want to keep, System of a Down to do the whole video about it, but
Tangent.
Yeah. Right.
what bugs me is like they keep saying they want to make a new album. Surge is just adamant about not doing it because he doesn't want to have any part of at least recording a new album, but they're going on tour as the original lineup. I'm like, what?
Well, they're cash grab. That's the only thing I can think
Yeah.
of. It's
Somebody
kinda-
must have to make rent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it bugs me. I don't know.
Someone's
But
got
I'm
some alimony to
like
pay
they
or
don't
something.
they don't need to put out a new album. They put 2 singles out in 2020 and they were fucking terrible. I'm like, they had their time and place, and I think they should just call it. They should have called
Right
it
off in the
2006.
sunset. Yeah, right off in the sunset.
Yeah.
Call it. Call it what it is, and
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah, and
Sometimes that's the best thing you can do is move on.
Oh, that was cool. You don't hear it too much.
this is
of
what
those
reminds me
swells.
of Spine Shank.
A little bit.
Yeah,
But even then, I mean, it's like there's still like that's what's interesting too. Like when people really try to blanket bands into certain genres and stuff like that, there's still like huge differences band to band to band, in each genre. So like, especially new metal, like it's almost as confusing as progressive metal with that because like new metal, I mean, we're talking about like Linkin Park,
Yeah.
System of a Down, Slipknot, Korn.
Yeah,
all
Papa
these bands
Roach.
are considered that, and it's like they all sound so drastically
Yeah.
different from one another. So it's such a weird blanket term.
I feel it's more of a era term
Yeah.
as opposed to a sound term.
Right, kind of like grunge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's grunge, like, okay, late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
New metal, okay, it's post-grunge, so it's mid to late 90s, early 2000s.
Yep.
It's like you have an idea of when they manifested and what kind of sound they will probably have. So
Right.
Yeah.
It's just weird because, and then, you know, because I grew up right in the middle of it too, and it's just like when we were hearing about, oh yeah, it's this new genre and everything, I'm just here going, it's okay. Like all these bands are so different, I don't even know what to call that, so I just stayed with like 80s metal all through high school.
I'm curious, did classic rock go through that same thing where it's classic rock but there's like subgenres of it? Is that a thing?
I think that becomes a time thing. I think because like
same thing, yeah.
Right, that's what we're saying, right?
Oh, you know what made me feel really old? Speaking of classic rock, was the classic station here. I heard Kryptonite by Three Doors Down.
Yeah.
I'm like, that came out in 2003. I was in middle school. Like, that's not. First of all, it's not classic rock. I mean, I guess technically it is now.
What, 22 years old now?
But that's what I mean. Like, is it just a time thing?
I think it's
to call it classic rock because back then that was basically just alternative rock.
Right.
You know, when it came out.
Yeah.
And I think to answer your question too, I think the big thing about that was I don't think they really. It was just rock. I mean, really, I don't
that's
think
what
that
I'm
they
saying.
classified things
They didn't,
at the time.
There's so much emphasis on trying to stand out and be unique nowadays because the market's so saturated that everyone wants to get rich and wants to make their music and have their voice or whatever.
And everything's been done already.
Right, and it's so hard to differentiate between your influences and people coming up and trying to cut out your niche or whatever.
Yeah.
That I think subgenres are kind of like the result of that.
Yeah, I think so. Well, and it's almost like kind of segregation by committee, really, because like you were saying, it's like, you know, these group of people are sitting here going, well, we're doing this, and it's not that.
Right.
So, you know, you people listen to that, and that's your music and everything. But if you don't want to be part of that anymore, you're too cool to be that, come over here and do this. You know, I think that's kind of what that is. So
it's kind of synonymous with high school, kind of.
Yeah.
Like
everyone has their own clique.
Everyone has their own table in the cafeteria, you know?
I think it kind of did start with like the in the 70s yet, like with like the progressive movement and the metal movement and stuff like that, where that's where it kind of started. You know what I mean? Like where it's just like, why don't you guys just kind of, you know, stop doing it all together and all that, and if you're like that specific or that segregated from that, come listen to this music and shit. And then from there it just kept on splintering off.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's just my opinion on it.
It's like, I think I've said that before on video too, is like the only, and I just said it earlier too, the only band that really I think is doing anything unique anymore is Polyphia, and I'm not even like a big fan of them.
Right.
Like I appreciate what they do, but
I appreciate the talent that Tim Henson is, but I can't even say I'm looking at the guy.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what are you?
He looks like a bitch. Like he just looks like such a bitch.
He's so effeminate, which I'm not trying to like rag on him or anything.
No.
We're all victims of our own birth, whatever. But I'm just like, I can't wrap my head around the sound and in the package, and it makes no sense to me.
Yeah, but I don't know. They're cool and everything, and I definitely appreciate talent, but it's hard for me to get into. Like it's so much shit hitting your ears at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
It makes me think of like it was on Always Sunny. Fucking Charlie Day made a quote. He's like, "Not a big fan of jazz though. Too many unnecessary notes."
Yeah,
like that's exactly how I feel about Polyphia.
Yeah. Well, I think that was weird too, because I don't know if you can relate to this too, but like right around the time when metalcore was coming out, it was just interesting because you'd see like the pictures of these people, the way they're singing and everything like that. You see them and you're like, that sound is coming out of that.
Yeah.
It's like, what gives? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, it's such a brutal sounding way of singing. You're looking at him, you're like, that's like the skinniest little girl dude that I've ever seen in my life. You know what I mean? But,
or even like Sully Erna from Godsmack.
Yeah.
Dude's like 5'5" and like 130 pounds soaking wet, and the way he screams, like, he's blessed with talent.
Yeah.
So
that was another band that I wasn't a fan of. And then
wasn't a fan of?
I've never liked Godsmack.
Really?
And then what was it? Oh, when their last album came out and you played it, I was like, oh my god, dude.
They've toned it down quite a bit since their early stuff, because even Sully came out and says like, we're not angry anymore.
Yeah, but that album was so good. It was
really good.
And it used to play it a lot, that clean, like kind of ballady song.
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude, his voice was fucking amazing on that. And then it's kind of weird how like that can make you appreciate their older stuff more. So like after that, I was like, oh okay, now Godsmack kind of makes sense to me now.
I actually kind of really like Tool.
They're one of those few bands where I can listen to like every one of their albums start to finish, and it's like, not have to worry about skipping a song.
Right.
I don't like that song. No, they're one of those bands that just
I would say like
play and forget about it.
Right. The way I would probably consider them is very consistent. Like every song, it's very consistent, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
that's something I feel like is really missing from music these days. Is like, it seems like people focus too much on making like a few great songs to put out like right now, for the fucking streaming or whatever, that they're not really thinking about a full album of music.
Right.
There's like, oh well, we have to write an album because there's a record label, but so they just write a bunch of shit songs and it's like skip, skip. What's the next one? Skip. Oh, there's a good one. All right, skip.
Well, it's kind of like what you were just saying, though. I mean, now we're back into a culture of where it's almost like in the 50s and 60s, kind of like we reverted back to that, where we're single driven now because of all the streaming and all the
immediate gratification is what people want.
Yeah, because you need to have that one hit single in order to be big, instead of having that one hit album full of work.
Yeah, so it's about standing out again, because it's the whole market's so saturated that unless you're doing something unique or different or outstanding or above and beyond everyone else,
But listening to this, that's kind of what made me think about that, was like, this was probably right at the end of that era, because this whole album I could put on and listen to.
This again,
fucking good.
Start to finish, it's a very consistent album. I don't skip any songs here unless I need to re-listen to something 2 or 3 times in a row, because
somebody started talking and you right over the best part. Fuck, now I gotta listen to the whole song again.
I gotta start over. Thanks. Only half angry.
Right.
I hear this awesome song again. Damn it.
I was gonna say, but that's okay. I can hear it again.
But it kind of hurts hearing him scream like that, because I know what happens, and just
it sounds so good.
It's sad. And there's another thing I want to talk about, like those who know, those who don't, like when it comes to music, because I work with a kid now, and I tried getting into his brain, and like, so what do you do other than work on cars? Do you do anything? What kind of music do you listen to? Nothing. I just work on cars. He's like,
wow.
What about music? Like, I'll listen to anything. I was like, bullshit.
No.
Bullshit. Yeah.
He's like, no. He's like, really? I don't care. Put on anything. Like, okay. He doesn't, and like, it hurt my soul. Like, you don't get it.
Yeah.
Because music, the way it evokes so many emotions from top to bottom.
That's weird, and people have like absolutely no preference. Like, that's crazy. Like, do you have a soul?
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's like, are we a soulless society now? I mean, it's like
it's cool if you're like that open to listen to everything, but if you just have no preference,
you still have preferences.
Weird.
You still have things you gravitate towards, because that's the kind of frequencies you like.
Right.
Yeah.
But just the fact that frequencies themselves can elicit anger or tears is what I love about music. Full disclosure, I did play an instrument in grade school for a little while. I was in the orchestra. I played upright bass, and so I played the fourth string thing.
Is it because you were tall? You were the only person
because I was the only one that could stand up that tall. But it was a voluntary vocation, so it wasn't like a required thing. But
bass is the heart of the band.
Yeah, it's the foundation of the band. And
there goes the band.
There goes the band. But my downfall is I too many interests for. I'm a jack of all trades, so I couldn't focus.
It's kind of the opposite of what you were just saying about that guy. Like, instead of, because it seems like this person he's
incredibly focused.
Right, like, and he doesn't really want to diversify.
Right, everything else is just noise to him.
Right, whereas some people they can take on a lot of different interests and a lot of different things like that. So like, it is very unfortunate when a person is that focused where they can't really just take in from everywhere else. You know what I mean?
Or
something.
To appreciate music takes no talent.
Right. No.
And that's what blows my mind.
You just have to love it. That's all.
You just have to. And I mean, my mother was very classic, so I listened to a lot of classical music growing up. Some old school country like Patsy Cline and stuff like that. And that's kind of where I got my interest or my influences from early on. But I mean, classic music automatically goes to heavy metal because hand in hand. One doesn't exist without the other.
No.
So, but I was totally speechless. Like, you don't you don't have any kind of preference. You don't care. I mean, it's one of those things where you're, like, if you get it, you get it, but if you don't, you're baffled. Like, how you don't.
Like,
not even on the radio. I mean, you put on like radio
really
and be like top 40 hits. So like, you like this track? Like, I don't care. Like, it's just background noise.
That's so weird.
And this.
That's really weird because like,
and this is what I'm talking about. How it, those that get it, they get it. And those that don't. And
I guess that I'd be like the opposite of him because like when I'm working on cars, I don't want to focus
silence,
on that.
yeah.
Like I want to listen to music. Like,
I need to hear something in the background.
I don't want to listen to my brain screaming. Like,
right.
I want to listen.
Goddamn Chryslers.
Right. Music is background noise. So to me, there's like a big spectrum of that. Because I don't care who you are or how tuned out you are to what's actually happening in the music. If you are a music fan, you are still listening to what's going on. You're still following along. You're still like listening to the intricacies and things. But then, all the way at the other end of the spectrum is, it's just background noise. I'm not really paying attention to it. And I'm like, I don't. That's the end of it. I can't understand because I'm like, how can you be listening to this wonderful gift that we've been given and not at least appreciate something that's going on, like the rhythm that you can kind of bob to, or the sick solo run, or even the most primal. Listen to how that guy's singing. Like I can't wrap my mind around that.
Yeah, listen to that snare drum.
Yeah.
Something. I mean,
Saint Anger. Don't listen to that snare drum.
No, that's a garbage can. That's different.
A garbage can with a baseball bat.
Jeez. That's probably where Clown got it from. He's like, hey, this is pretty good.
I was going to say, that's another one we should do. We should do early Slipknot.
Yeah.
Because their early shit was really good.
This kind of reminds me of here.
Do pre or post Corey? Because there's their first album, which is Make, Feed, Kill, Repeat, which was before Corey joined the band.
Yeah, true.
Which
was Iowa their second album?
No, their self-titled was their first one.
Oh, okay, so probably that one.
So Make, Feed, Kill, Repeat was, I think it was 95 or 94.
Oh, yeah.
So did they start before Korn?
They were about the same time.
Yeah.
They were really close to the same time, but they didn't.
I think Korn hit it first.
Korn hit it big right away, and Slipknot took them in it. They needed to find the whole group because, I can't remember what the original singer's name was.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But they had most of the lineup, plus then Corey came along, and then I think Jim Root came along. Because I know it was Joey and I think Mick and maybe Paul Gray were the first in the original band. I think.
I know Paul Gray was original.
Yeah,
I don't think died, didn't he?
No, he died a while ago. He OD'd.
Well, which one? Somebody just died from that band. Who was it? Was it?
Joey died a few years ago because he had some weird form of MS.
Maybe I'm thinking of something else. Anyway.
And then Paul OD'd in a hotel room shortly after the All Hope Is Gone album. Okay. So that would have been like 2010-ish.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Which, I know bass players get a lot of hate, but he was a major songwriter and a contributor to that band, and always get behind a left-handed bassist.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking of. And it's crazy, like, when you get older, how much faster time goes by. Because 2010, that was, like, 15 years ago.
That was, like, yesterday. Like,
that just happened. No, that was 15 years ago. Holy shit, dude.
Well, and that, too. I mean, like, speaking of, like, the stuff like that, I can remember, like, what was my freshman year. I think it was probably, like, either your senior or junior year in school. But Linkin Park's coming out. Like, Korn and Slipknot are getting huge. Papa Roach is starting. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just, like... And to me, like, in my mind, that's as if it was yesterday. So, I mean, it's like, I don't, like, passage of time just sucks, It's like, people are like, that shit's old. And I'm like, it's not old. I mean, it's only 25 years ago. Okay, I guess it is old. Never mind.
Like, the grandparents and all my elders used to, like, kind of snicker behind their back, like talk about all this stuff that, like, it just happened. This was like 30 years ago, and I'm in that same position. That's what it feels like. I'm an asshole.
It's a video you sent me yesterday, and it was like talking about classic.
Classic.
Lamb of God.
A modern metal classic.
Oh my God, dude! Was laid to rest.
Yeah, it's like that came out in 2002. And like what? It's like that's just a classic. Like.
Yeah,
he's all jarred. Like,
fuck, dude, like that's crazy. That's how I felt, and this was only a few years ago when I heard Kryptonite on the classic rock station. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, that was like the fucking song in 2003. Like, you couldn't go anywhere without hearing that, and like even still, like maybe it's just one of those timeless songs. I don't know, but I'm like, I don't think it's classic rock. Like, that just made me feel old. I was like, that came out, I was 12, I think.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, it seems like yesterday, but that was 20-something years ago.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Now, I think, though, like, we're in a unique situation, though, being millennials or more, millennials, whatever you want to call it. But 2000 happened, right? So
Yes, it definitely did.
Right. So
25 years ago, yeah.
But it's almost like, the way I feel about it, it's like, you know, you had the 70s and 80s and 90s, and it was like a very, how do I put it, like very decisive decade, each one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then post 2000,
Talking
musically or even
culturally,
yeah.
pop culture.
but even then, like, since I would say post 2000, especially post 2010s, I would say it's just really not changed much. So that's why I think for us, the passage of time, it's like when we say, oh, it seems like that was like not that long ago, I think it's even more so the case for us because we're in that vacuum of post 2000 more or less. So it just feels like it wasn't that long ago.
It's
I
more
think,
the rise of the internet, I think, because it makes everything's at my fingertips when you have to work for something. But
Right.
I remember having to go to the library and look up references for book reports and stuff.
Yeah.
Actually having the right cursive and
Yeah. Oh,
now
that's,
it's just, or now you're
Nobody knows
talking to
cursive.
AI and having AI write a report for you.
Yeah.
I think it's more like once you get older, you stop worrying so much about what's going on culturally. You know what I mean?
that's
So
true.
like
100%.
everything just kind of don't care, you know?
I'd say like after you get to 30,
Well, and
you
we're
no
all
longer
around the
care.
same-ish age, you know? So like, okay, I'm like 10 years younger than Casey, but
Close enough.
close enough. Same genre or generation. But yeah, so it's like 2000s, that's when I was growing up, like early to mid 2000s, and you were a little bit before me.
Like later
But
90s, yeah.
so yeah, stuff like once we turned like 20s, 25, whatever, like we just fuck it. I have a full-time job. I got to worry about that.
You have more worries in your life besides, you know, what's the newest trend
So that's
going
why
on.
I think it seems like that. But if you look, things have definitely changed over the last, each
sure.
decade. Like,
Well, I was going to say, but that's kind of like 1998, 97. I remember that kind of thing was going on.
Yeah.
You know, like the weird phase between the goth movement and the emo movement.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's really not that dissimilar now.
It's just more
It's
colorful
just
now.
It's just more
It was
colorful and
all
more digital stuff.
black.
yeah,
Black I wore black everything.
Yeah.
But I don't consider myself a goth.
no,
I didn't do like the corpse paint. or
right,
nothing
and then
like
trip
that.
pants and
Right.
yeah,
I think to find a more definitive line on decades now, you have to look at technology.
Exactly.
Because the way it advances so fast. I mean, look at a phone from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, look at this brick.
yeah,
Yep.
It's like, it can barely run Snake. Holy crap. I'm dating myself again.
yeah. Well, that's funny too, because I remember like when flip phones were still the thing, and like touchscreen phones. Like, I don't think they were quite out yet, but people were like, "Oh, technology and phones specifically they're gonna start getting smaller and smaller and smaller." Zoolander,
Yeah.
they need that little bitty
Yeah.
phone. But now it's like they're getting bigger. Like
Yeah.
they're all getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
People want bigger screens because now you can stream all kinds of media.
Yeah,
It's a little TV in your pocket. And like I can't see what the hell I'm looking at.
Yeah.
And it's this big. So
Yeah.
how big are pockets? They're about that big. Okay, make a phone that big. Still fit in your pocket.
get your Jinkos, dude. You can fit you can fit a whole laptop in there.
What being said about the technology, I remember it being said in our house, playing PlayStation 1, oh man, video games are never getting any better than this.
Yeah, and then the
This
next
is fucking awesome.
and then the next one comes out. Oh, there's no way it's gonna look better
Yeah.
than this.
I feel like we might have reached that plateau though. As far as
possible.
realism,
It-
it's getting
it's-
close.
Yeah.
It's almost indiscernible from real life. So it's right there.
Yeah.
Especially with like more people using UE5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, UE5 is ridiculous.
Insane, yeah. But we were saying that when we had the demo for Final Fantasy VIII,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah,
the
and
cutscenes
you
were
look
like,
at
oh
it
my
now.
god, look how real this is, and it just looks like
Yeah,
computer generated
and-
like anime.
And go back and look at it now. It's just like a bunch
Yeah.
of blocks
Yeah.
on top of each other. Like
Yeah, but it was the shit. I remember playing Madden '99 too.
Yeah.
And we're like, this looks just like you're watching it
Yeah.
on TV.
They have flippers for hands and shit.
Didn't even have lines for fingers.
Yeah.
just goes to show how crappy the TVs were at that time.
Oh, that's true.
Because I've got like I'm building my little retro game center in my man cave, and I've got a CRT TV
Yeah.
still.
Nice.
And looking at it, I'm just like, oh my god, it's so grainy, and
Yeah.
just you can almost see the lines as you're looking at it because we're so spoiled with fidelity these days.
Oh yeah.
And not just TVs, like with music too. Everything is so spoiled with fidelity and
Mm-hmm.
Well,
fine tuning that perfect sound. If nothing, there's a lack of realness or
Yeah.
originality to a lot of stuff these days.
Putting it like right on the click grid, so that way it's not off time or whatever.
It's like, oh, that note needs to be nudged an eighth this way.
Yep.
Let's just do that. We don't
Let's
have
just
to cut
fix
tape.
that. We'll fix that in post.
Yeah, fix that in post.
Doesn't have to be done correctly or perfectly. We can always just move it.
But the crazy thing is, so like going back to the video game thing, I was playing Super Nintendo. What was that game? Oh my god,
Super Metroid.
Metroid.
Yeah.
And I got one of those converters so I could play it on like my monitor. Looks like fucking shit. Like it
looks like shit.
It blurs all the lines together. And so I had like an old, can't really call it old, but Samsung TV. It was a 720p, and it had the red, yellow, white. Plug it in that way, it looks fucking awesome. I'm like, so how can they make it so that it looks sharper on an older TV with all that shit? But when you get a but that's the thing, is it's converting it. And it's like shit to HDMI. So it's like, how can they not make technology that makes a converter look good on a HD TV, like a big fucking TV?
Because there's just too many pixels to deal with, and it doesn't know what to do, so it looks all blurry.
I was gonna say, I think that's the problem. Is there's too many pixels on the TV, and it's not putting out as many.
Right. It doesn't.
So it just gets blurry.
That's why the pictures are just a lot smaller, and you get the bars.
Yeah.
And I even remember when the PS3 first came out, and I had a backwards compatible version, which I don't know why they ever got rid of that. It's just stupid, Sony. And even playing like PS1 games on it was like looking at an old Atari game. It was so blocky, and actually had a mode where it would smooth the edges because the fidelity was so much better.
Right.
It just you're talking 10 years difference there.
Yeah.
Well, and it's kind of crazy, like between PS3 and now, like it's about the same amount of time, and it really doesn't look that much better.
No, I mean, it's better, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's like holy shit better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like between PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3.
I must say, going from like 1440 to 4K is a noticeable difference.
That's a pretty big difference,
Especially like if you have
HDR.
Yeah, HDR. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm really not that old, I swear. Like just the difference between the vibrant blacks and one.
Like contrast and shit.
Oh, it's over already.
Yeah, that was a good album. It's short. Yeah, it was like, well, nobody wants to listen to Rise Against. I like Rise Against.
Somebody wants to hear it. I like it.
I like Rise Against, but yeah. Anyway, I was thinking too while you were talking about that, like how CGI looks somehow worse now than it did, like
because the fidelity it's presented in.
Yeah, but again, it's like if they can make it. Like make it look better for the technology we have. You know what I mean?
It has to go hand in hand with the technology that's present. Because if you look at, say, like Terminator 2 had some really groundbreaking stuff at the time in the early '90s. You look at it now, you're like, oh yeah, that's fake.
Yeah.
But at the time, everyone's or even like Star Wars.
Yeah.
On the equipment and like the techniques used for like Star Wars are pretty cool. By the way, There's some really old school stuff. And just the visual format it was presented on, it meshed so well that it, people were fooled. But now you look at it on something like a monitor and it's 4K, you're like, oh, I can see each and every line that they drew in there now. And it's just that technology can't keep up with the visual technology. Right. It's inevitable.
It sucks because movies are all CGI now, and it's like just film it out in the real world, I get it because and they can make more money off it.
It's all money.
Hollywood.
Nobody gets their head chopped off in the fucking helicopter.
Why not? Because they used to actually do that back in the day.
Yeah,
they haven't.
I'm sure.
Zone.
There's been some deaths.
But
for
like
sure.
The Crow, which by the way that was pretty good. Me and Ashley saw the new Crow.
It's kind of Skarsgård.
It was actually really good. I was pretty surprised.
I kind of want to avoid seeing it because I don't want to ruin the original in my mind.
I never really watched the original one.
The original's pretty good.
It was great. That was a pop culture thing because of the whole goth movement, and it was a perfectly timed movie.
So that was Hail the Villain.
Mostly while we bullshitted.
That's
what
we've turned into.
That's what I expected.
Yeah,
I was kind of like taking the over-under on which way the tangent would go.
Yeah.
Pleasantly surprised.
At least we didn't tangent into the country.
Yeah.
Right.
We almost did that. The video right after that,
Yeah.
We almost went right back into country.
No, I'm not going into country yet.
Yeah.
I would have put the kibosh on that for sure. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna walk right out that door. Keep talking. Not talking country today.
Yeah, we'll talk about new metal and other stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like that album. When you showed it to me, I immediately was like, "This is fucking awesome!"
It is good.
And it was another one that I've never heard of. And I remember you were like, "What?" You couldn't think of the band.
Yeah,
and you were
it took
like,
me forever
"You were like,
to
I
think
can
of it."
see the album cover." You're like, "It's a guy getting hit by a car."
Yep.
On the album cover, and I googled like new metal band guy getting hit by a car, and there was like fucking 30 of them.
Wow. That was sort of a popular trope.
Yeah.
Take your pick. Like, nope. There it is.
But it was
No,
cool.
no.
Like that was another thing too. I really like album art too, and it's cool how they did like a kind of I don't know, like
noir comic book looking
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah. And I think one of the music videos that they did the whole thing kind of like that.
Yeah.
It was kind of wrapped around the cover art of the album.
That's really cool. I always like that style. Like that's what drew me to what's that movie, Sin City.
Sin City, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of the same vein.
Yeah. Anyway,
Cool.
thanks for watching.
This was fun.
Yeah. Probably.
I'll pick the next one too. Or not like the next one.
Yeah.
Next time we get together.
Yeah. Yeah, we should definitely do it again. Yeah, it was cool.
Oh yeah.
Tim, I think your pick is next.
Yeah.
Do you have
I'll
any
try
ideas?
to get a good one.
You don't have any ideas?
Right now, not so sure. But I'll have one. I'll have one by next week.
Okay. See you next week. See what Tim decides on. Probably some more
It's gonna be
weird
special.
shit. He's gonna pick fucking Toto or something.
Just
never know.
Or whatever. Jethro Tull. Jethro
Yeah.
Tull's alright. Aqualung.
I don't know. Maybe I'll pick Wilson Phillips. Who knows?
Wilson Phillips.
Who?
Wilson Phillips. Oh, that's right. You guys are metalheads.
Is that some
Sorry,
pop
God.
singer from the 80s, I assume?
Actually, yeah. It's
Yeah.
an old girl band.
Yeah.
I guess you want to call them girls.
Okay. We'll do fucking Wham.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Just Thompson and Pat Benatar.
I like Pat Benatar. Even though I just said sex symbols. She
Female
was fucking
singers.
good though. I like Pat Benatar. Yeah. Anyway, we'll see you.
Bye bye everybody.